All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Bird Rights Podcast. I'm joined by Jack Cobahay and my boy Stans.
I'm in studio today, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
he's here. He's here in person. This is our second NBA pod. We're doing another weekly preview and recap from the past week. So yeah, I mean, a lot's gone on. This is rivalry week right now in the NBA, so a lot of good matchups. And then we also had a big time trade go down that we're going to talk about with our Wizards fan here. And we also had the All-Star starters come out last night,
Yep.
which is really
Little controversial.
Yeah,
we're gonna
a
have a
little
lot to say.
polarizing.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess we can just hop in here and talk about some of the news. Like I said, the All-Star starters came out last night. Just the starters, none of the reserves or anything. Only 10 players named, but we can get into that later because we have a specific section where we're going to talk about that. So I guess I can just talk about a little bit about the Sixers here, since I'm a Sixers fan. They're on a 6-game win streak right now, which is leading the NBA. They're a really hot team right now. Pause. And they just beat the Nets, obviously without KD, but it was Ben Simmons' first game back in Philly since getting traded, and it was a really good game to watch. But yeah, the Sixers are on a roll right now, and I think it's honestly mainly because they've found their good starting lineup with their team. They've moved Maxey to 6 man, and that's actually been really well. And they moved Melton into the starting lineup, which has also worked really well. So I think it's been a good catalyst as to why they've been on such a good tear recently.
Yeah, I agree. Melton's been shooting I believe he's been shooting like lights out from three, at least so far this season.
Yeah.
I am wearing a 76ers jersey today for this podcast, but it's mainly a meme. I had to wear it first game back in Philly, Ben Simmons. I had to rep him. Also giving my team, the Hawks, a playoff win, but that's besides the point. I had to troll my man over here a little bit.
Yeah, Ben, I'm pretty sure he didn't score a point until the third quarter, but he had 12 points on 5 of 7. Classic little Ben Simmons performance, being mid as ever.
But I mean, 12 points for him. He's had a couple games where he hasn't scored. So I mean, for him to hit double-digit points back in Philly, I mean,
It's a good performance.
hopefully it'll be a little bit of a confidence boost for
Yeah.
him, like playing back in his hometown, back in his drafted team, I should say.
The Wizards are now in. What were you gonna say? I was gonna say the Wizards are now in the play-in. So I don't even want that to happen. Really, like I'd rather them just try and get the best lottery odds as possible. Because being the 10th best team in the Eastern Conference, being like the 20 or 25th best team overall, there's not really something to brag about.
I feel like that's kind of what we expected, though. I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week on the pod. Like the Wizards aren't really like good enough to compete. Definitely not good enough to win a title. I mean, they could make the playoffs potentially. I don't think they will.
You
But
just get swept in the first round.
Exactly. But they're like not good enough, or they're not bad enough rather, to get like the best pick really, or have the best slots in the lottery, I should say.
It's like the worst place to be as an NBA franchise, is to be like.
They've won 4 games in a row, and they're still 4 games under.
I mean, I guess we can kind of take this point and move on to the Rui trade. Just kind of transition since we're talking about the Wizards. So I guess Kobe, you can start here. Just give us your opinion on what you guys got back for Rui and what your thoughts are on this whole trade that just happened.
Okay, I mean, Rui he's good. I mean, he's a solid player. Like he's nothing special to write home about. But at this point, we haven't really seen much potential from him. Like that's like incredibly impressive. I like the guy. I think he will probably have a decent role next to LeBron. It's good. By far the best player he's ever played next to. It's not even really close. But I don't know. I mean, he's gonna hit the free agency. I think the Lakers want to extend him, and the Wizards tried to extend him already in the offseason, and they couldn't really work out a deal. They prioritize Kuzma at this moment, and there are some waves that are coming out that Kuzma might be interested in staying, but he could also just like leave, and they could get nothing back for him either. So you don't know. I guess you want to get something of value for Rui if you can, but that thing of value didn't really come. Like I mean, they got 3 second-round picks, which is sort of equivalent to like a late first-round pick, basically. But I mean, I don't really care about picks that are coming in like 2029 for Rui now. Like
Yeah,
they're gonna draft a current middle schooler with that selection. Like
yeah. I don't.
LeBron's infant son or something that hasn't even
Yeah,
graduated.
I don't know. It's a little bit of a strange one for me. I mean, I feel like the Wizards would have liked to get like even a protected first, although I'm not really sure that could have happened. For the Lakers side of things, I feel like they could have used like a better shooter instead of Rui there for a trade. I mean, it was a little bit of a strange one for me, but they also like didn't really give up that much. I mean, Kendrick Nunn really hasn't been like the same player since leaving the Miami Heat.
He's been very bad,
And
unfortunately.
the yeah, and then the 3 second round picks. I mean, I don't know. The Lakers have done pretty well at drafting players, especially getting like late value. But I mean, I think it's fine for them to do. Like, it doesn't really hurt for them to pick up a guy like Rui. But I don't know. If I was a Wizards fan like you, Kobe, I'd be a little bit worried like about getting any actual value out of
Yeah.
those picks.
I mean, if you're like the Lakers too, I feel like obviously they're in a win now mode. Rui's a solid player, but he is young, obviously. So I mean, you can look at it in a positive way and a negative way because he's a young player that doesn't have like really much playoff experience at all. So, they're looking to win now. He's probably not going to get into the rotation much if they make the playoffs. But then you also can look at this as like AD's starting to get a little older. He's going to be there for a while, but LeBron is obviously, because years are coming down, he's going to retire soon enough, probably. And, he might leave after this year too. You never know. So getting a young player could also be a good thing for them since that team does not really have a good future right now. And Rui's a young guy. So, maybe, I don't know, probably possibly a possible high ceiling trade that could, turn out really well for them in a like a chance.
He's definitely better than Kendrick Nunn, which is not really saying very much at
100%.
all.
Yeah.
And like I don't hate the Lakers for doing this at all. The Wizards draft history recently has been like very putrid,
Yeah.
like one of the worst in the league. They haven't really got any sort of impact contributors
It's really bad.
in like 10 years. Basically, when they've been picking outside of the top three in the draft, where they got Wall and Beal and Otto and things like that, they basically haven't picked anyone that's very valuable anywhere in the draft, and that's kind of an indictment on the franchise as a whole. So
like,
if they really think they can get something with these 3 third-round picks or second-round picks, I should say, then so be it. But it's kind of sad that your top 10 pick has turned into that.
Yeah, agreed. But it's pretty interesting. Like we talked about, if the Wizards are trying to tank here, I mean, keeping Kuzma over Rui might not be the best idea if you're trying to like really get like one of those top tier like lottery picks, because I mean, Kuzma's kind of been balling. He's averaging like 22, 23 points per game. I think I saw like last like 3 games he's had
like 33, 30,
25. Like,
he's been playing great.
He's much better than Rui, and he's a good player, but he's nothing like he's not an all-star. He's probably a little bit below that.
He's almost going to be like 28, 29 coming up here. And like, I mean, he's good, but it seems like if they were to tank, I feel like they would be selling as much as possible, like all their assets at the deadline to just be as bad as possible.
Yeah,
I feel like they're kind of in a bad situation though, because I feel like maybe management would be willing to trade Beal, but Beal just refuses to leave the franchise, and they're just kind of like, as a whole organization, are just like, if he's going to be here, why not like try and win, I guess. So I don't know. I feel like they're kind of in a hard place to move forward with that.
And the thing with Beal is good, but he's not that impact. Like he's not even an All NBA player at this juncture.
He's like a great second option player.
Yeah, I mean,
like number 2.
He can average like 20, 25 points a game on pretty solid shooting. He's not a really good defender. He's not an amazing playmaker. He's a decent one. He's gotten better recently, for sure. But they're paying him, like $50 million a year, and I'm not really sure.
Crazy, yeah.
If they even are able to trade that, I'm really not sure what they would get back. Like it might just be sort of a salary type thing to make it easier for them to get out of it.
We saw the Wizards with Beal's best year when he averaged like 30, and the Wizards were like a play-in team, or like not even. So like Beal at his best is not going to be some guy that's going to carry you to the playoffs.
Yeah, and he has injury issues.
I mean, the three of us went to that game or went to a game when Beal was probably playing at his best. Yeah, he hit the game winner against the Mavericks a few years back. The three of us were there in attendance. I don't know. It's gonna be really hard to find somebody to like dump that contract off for any serious value here.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Wizards they have been able to get some pieces, maybe not in the draft, but like I feel like they've signed some solid, like small names that have turned out to be big. Like, isn't Gafford like been pretty good recently or the past few years?
Yeah, they got Gafford basically they got him for Troy Brown, and that he's really not that. He's much better than Troy Brown. So they've made little small, like under the radar moves to just try and improve gradually. Mm-hmm. Like they'll throw themselves into as like the third team in a trade and get like a project, but none of these guys are moving the needle enough.
Yeah, I know. They're all like they're all role players that, like Gafford on like like one of the top seeds would probably be like an amazing backup center for a team that's looking to win right now. But yeah, I don't know. The Wizards are in a really bad place, and especially like also Kristaps. Like I feel like his contract's kind of unmovable, even how he's played well. Like no one wants him really because injury issues and then getting a ton of money. So I feel like I don't know. I don't know if the Wizards are in like the worst situation in the league, but it's pretty bad.
Kristaps might actually hit free agency this offseason. He has a player option for $36 million. We'll see if he accepts or declines that.
I mean, I feel like he's probably going to accept that, but
yeah, I mean, if he doesn't think he's going to get that much anywhere else, he's probably going to accept it.
Unless if somebody offers him like a really like long-term deal.
And not a lot of teams have cap space where they can just offer that much money to someone straight up.
And the teams with cap space are like the rebuilding teams. Why would they offer Kristaps a contract when they're trying to lose?
Yeah, I don't know. But either way, we'll see how long he sticks around in Washington. Maybe he could have a career here or something.
I mean, should we like head over to the other like major trade rumor? I mean, not exactly a trade that's happened, but the Raptors are in a very tricky spot as well. Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent seem to be the two primary players
that are
on the trading block. I mean, we'll see. I've heard Los Angeles Lakers are maybe one of the front runners, probably for Fred VanVleet. I mean, I saw a trade rumor they'd have to give up maybe 2 first-round picks, and Austin Reeves, and maybe somebody else. I mean, Reeves has actually been a very solid player for the Lakers, given them much needed shooting with like LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. Like they need good shooting around that. And Fred VanVleet will give you some solid shooting.
Guys, Declan has entered the waiting room in the Zoom. I guess I should admit.
Oh, we can get him in here. Get him in here. We have another added guest.
Him. I don't know. I hit the admit button, but I don't see him.
Bird Rights Podcast there he is joined by Declan Pollard. He's here. Lakers fan. As we're talking about the Lakers.
There he is.
Oh, he's
on campus.
Can we hear
us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Give us a real quick here. Give us your insight on Fred VanVleet for the Lakers.
What about Fred VanVleet? You cut out.
Give us your insight on the Lakers possibly trading for Fred VanVleet.
Oh, okay. So here's what's going to happen. I've decided. They're going to trade Russell Westbrook and every asset they have, 2 firsts, a pick swap, Max Christie, and they're getting Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. And then they're winning the finals. That's what's going to happen. It's confirmed. I have inside sources, which is my 2K simulation, and it worked there. So I assume it'll work here. I almost got hit by a car. Yeah, Fred VanVleet, he's on his way to the Lakers. Hopefully, Gary Trent Jr. Clutch Sports client, Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, we were talking seriously though about like the 2 first-round picks and like Austin Reeves or something for Fred VanVleet. Well, what's your take on that?
Put it. I actually think something like that. I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's certainly plausible. Something like those two picks. Maybe one of them has like a top 3 protection, and then one of Reeves or Christie, and then Beverly and Damian Jones to make the money work, or Beverly and Lonnie Walker or something.
Trying to move off Pat Bev. I saw that report that the Lakers want to get rid of Pat Bev because he's been ass this season.
Declan's favorite player, by the way. Patrick Beverly.
But yeah, I mean, I don't I don't know if the Raptors are in such a tough situation right now where they should be winning games, but like
Yeah.
just seems that their players just like it's just not working for some reason. Like Fred VanVleet's solid, I guess. He was a lot better in the past, but he's not that good right now. Gary Trent, pretty sure didn't they trade for him like last year or the year before to try and win now?
2 years ago, I think 2 years ago.
Pascal is amazing. He's been great this year, but it's just like I feel like again, kind of like the Beal thing. He seems more like a top tier number 2 than a guy that's gonna win you games. And
Exactly.
OG also a good young player, but it just doesn't seem like it's working out. So if you're the Raptors, you might just want to blow it up.
I mean, I mean, I feel like they'd probably keep on to him out of like most of the guys that are listed, but like Scotty Barnes in there.
Yeah,
too.
Scotty
Like,
Barnes.
He's a really like quality player, but I've heard some rumors about him too.
Yeah, I feel like if you are the Raptors, though, I feel like Scotty's definitely. If there's one guy you want to keep, it's probably him.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be a little premature to move off of him, in my opinion, but you never know.
Yeah,
I know we've heard a lot about OG. I know OG's been on trade speculations a lot. Pascal, obviously, a little bit, but I feel like you're gonna have to give up a lot to get Pascal, and I don't know if a team's willing to do that. I've heard the Mavs as a team that might want to trade for him, but again, I just don't really know what
it would have to be all of their picks. All of their picks that they have is what it would have to be, and all of the swaps.
Someone
I think
offered,
Trent,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, would you want to do that if you're the Mavs with just Luka?
I'd think about it.
Want to go all in on Pascal?
I'd think about it. I'd seriously think about it.
Yeah, I would, you know, I'd be very tempted if I was the Mavericks. I feel like we've talked like considerably, at least among like all of us, that the Mavericks do need some like high level help there for Luka Doncic. I mean, they got it done last night, but I saw some rumors as well for Fred VanVleet maybe or Gary Trent in the Mavs too.
I don't think that's enough for them. I don't think they should burn their assets on like a guy who's like an ancillary piece like that. If they're going to send out assets, they have all these guys like, you know, Dinwiddie and Finney Smith and Bullock, all these solid role players. They just don't have a secondary go-to scorer. I mean, they kind of had it in Brunson, but
Brunson's gone.
He left for nothing.
Yeah, Brunson's gone. Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about burning assets to get VanVleet, which is kind of just like a little bit of worse version of Brunson.
Exactly what I was going to say, yeah. Fred VanVleet just seems like another Brunson, and then Gary Trent just seems like kind of like all the other players they have already, like Tim Hardaway Jr. It's all like a bunch of role players, like 3-and-D players that it's just Luka and a bunch of role players, it seems like, and they need that like superstar to go aside with him. And they try
Christian Wood is good, but even he's not like an all-star caliber player again.
Christian Wood's like a good, like he was their sixth man. He's good, like third option, I guess, but he's not like your number 2 kind of. Luka's your Batman. Christian Wood's not your fucking like Robin. Like, come on, bro. Like, no, yeah.
There was a rumor that someone offered 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby, and the Raptors turned it down.
We're crossing the street.
Which to me, I think is a little crazy. I mean, OG is a really like quality player, but if the Raptors are close enough to like dealing all these other guys away, I feel like you might as well start with OG. I mean, he can score the ball. He's a great defender, but for 3 first-round picks, I don't know. I'm having a hard time turning that down if I'm Toronto here.
Yeah, maybe they want to see if they can get more somehow, but that seems a little unlikely.
I wonder
if teams
what
willing to give up 3 for him, then they might be willing to give up more for someone else, and the opportunity might go away.
Yeah, Zach just brought up a point. I don't know who really is offering that. Who's in like a position to
offer 3 first-round picks for him.
Where OG like moves the needle for you that much.
Yeah,
I feel like it's got to be a solid team though to have like pretty like poor first-round picks.
How about Golden State?
I think Golden State that could be interesting. Yeah, trying to sell all their picks to win.
But they're not the team that really has liked to sell off first-round picks. They always seem to have their picks.
Yeah.
Which it's got to be.
I like that. I like that idea for them though.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
They should they should look to make a trade for another difference maker, because I feel like they're kind of missing another piece right now.
Their roster's lacking. This year.
But I guess other than the Raptors, there haven't been much on the trade deadline. But I did want to propose 2 questions. I guess we can talk about here a little bit. I was gonna say, what teams should look to buy at the deadline right now? There's got to be like 1 or 2 teams where you could like see that their window is really wide open right now, and they should make a trade for another difference maker. I was obviously gonna say the Mavs.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree that the Mavs should definitely look to make a trade, but I don't know if they should do it now at the deadline or wait until the offseason. I don't really here. Let me look at the standings real quick.
I'm already looking at them actually. The Mavs are they're only like 2 games out of being out of the playoffs or out of the play-in entirely. Like, if they keep being a little unsteady like they've been recently, especially with Luka getting injured now, he should be fine, but still.
Dallas is one of those teams bunched up between like seeds 5 and 13 in the West. They're all within like 2 games. But from like the Lakers to I think Dallas and like the Clippers, it's like 2 games separate all of them.
The Pelicans have lost 6 in a row, so they're also within
I
it.
was about to say that.
It was the Pelicans. It's the 4 seed all the way to the 10 seed is within 2 games of each other.
Or 13 is.
It's really the 13th. Go back to
But
yeah,
the Pelicans have dropped 6 in a row. They're really missing Zion right now.
Yeah,
BI's out. BI's
so
been
the
out
4
for
and the 13 are 3 games apart. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think because of that bunch up, you're going to see a bunch of teams in the West at least try and be buyers. I could see the Clippers have been mentioned as a team that's kind of a buyer.
Yeah.
With Kawhi kind of playing more like himself recently, I could definitely see them. I saw something mentioned linking them to Pirtle, to Turner, a few bigs, and then they were also a team linked to some of these point guards out there: Van Vliet, Conley, Lowry. So any of that would be interesting. Obviously, the Lakers they should be buyers, especially after the Rui trade, because now they're not going to have any cap space in the offseason. So now is the time to use that Westbrook salary slot, or at least the Beverly and Lonnie Walker together to get something.
Yeah.
And then anybody else in the West, really. I would say really anybody in that bunch of the West should be trying to buy, unless I think the one team I'd say definitely shouldn't is Portland. Portland needs to count their losses and move on at this point.
I know. Yeah. I think we're going to talk about the Pacers or the Trailblazers here in a little bit in our game recap because one of their games was pretty spectacular. But I was going to say anyone in that, like you said, kind of anywhere in that grouping, I think 3 teams kind of stick out to me. The Kings are young and their window is open now. They're the number 3 seed. I think that if they can make a move for a guy, do it. The Pelicans too, because again, they've got their solid big 3 together. I think that they could add another piece coming off the bench, and then the Clippers as well. Then in the Eastern Conference, I think that the Sixers should make a deal for a bench player as well. I think that with how they've been playing, it wouldn't hurt to add another scorer or defender off the bench.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the Pelicans. That might be a really good OG Anunoby team. They have the
starting lineup would be so good.
They have one more Lakers pick incoming, and they have one Lakers swap incoming. So those are 2 pretty good assets that they could use, and they have 2 Milwaukee picks incoming, so they have picks to spend. And if you take their best lineup right now, what's kind of the hole in their best lineup? It's McCollum, Ingram, when everyone's healthy. They're not healthy right now, but McCollum, Ingram, Zion, and Valanciunas. But if you then add the perfect 3-and-D wing to that, OG Anunoby makes that team serious contenders. I feel similarly about Cleveland, but they don't really have the assets to go do that right now.
Yeah, they don't.
That lineup that the Pelicans, if they added OG, reminds me of just a better version of what the Raptors had out there last year, where everyone was just lanky and could move really well, except for Valanciunas. But the rest of them are all like.
But you can play Herb Jones instead of Valanciunas in kind of small.
You just have a great defensive lineup there.
My issue though, kind of like with the Raptors, is who on the Pelicans come playoff time is really gonna step up and really make all these shots.
You hope Zion and Ingram. Ingram was awesome in the playoffs last year.
Ingram's your go-to scorer in the playoffs, and then obviously Zion as well. But Ingram's your 3-level scorer in the playoffs. Zion's more your bruising paint guy.
I mean, it's great to have a lot of options, but I feel like on a lot of these championship winning teams,
you have a solid number 1.
Yeah, you have one of the top 5, top 7, top 8, whatever scores in the league, and it feels like although the Pelicans are really good when healthy, they don't really have anybody quite there. But I mean, we'll see if
Zion when he's out there is pretty damn effective.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, yeah.
Ingram
hasn't played
he's remarkably effective. Somebody made an NFL comp for him. It's he's just never out there, but when he's out there, holy shit, is he good?
Yeah,
26 points per game on 61% shooting,
which is
absurd. Yeah,
he's been amazing.
It's sad that he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. But when he plays, it's not like he's a bum. Obviously, he's amazing.
No. In four
Yeah.
seasons, in like 3.5 seasons, he's only played like 110
Yeah.
games, which is not what you want, sadly.
And I guess we can kind of talk about which team should sell. We kind of already talked about this, so I guess Raptors should definitely be a seller. I think we all can agree that the Wizards should be, but they're not going to. And then,
Yeah.
like Declan was saying, the Trailblazers should also try and be sellers this deadline.
I think Chicago should try and
Mm,
cash in on their pieces right now because they're not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
Their roster.
I've seen that Vucevic has gotten like trade rumors come around him.
Yeah, because he's playing really well all of a
Yeah.
sudden these last few months.
Yeah.
DeRozan's old, Vucevic is old. Levine's like 27, 28 now, and
Levine has some injury problems, and he's got a long deal that could look bad on the back end of that. If I might try and unload the Levine deal if I could.
Yeah. He's also had a down season this year.
I don't know who would take that, but like I mentioned with Blake, like I mentioned with Beal and with Blake Griffin kind of thing. I think it'd be smart to try and trade Levine now to somebody who is really aggressive, either somebody who's trying to save their job, like when Stan Van Gundy traded for Blake Griffin, or somebody who's desperately aggressive looking for a star. I can think of one team. But yeah, if I'm the Bulls, I'd maybe try and trade Levine, but don't do it unless the price is right. But definitely some of the ancillary pieces, like Caruso has been in kind of trade rumors. Vooch, if you think you're not going to be able to keep him, you could probably get something okay for him because he's playing well. Although that's a hard contract to move and it's hard to find salary matching for a center at like $30 million.
Is he really making that much? I guess.
Yeah, he's making close to 30, I think.
Levine?
No,
no, Vucevic.
Looks like he's making 22, which is still pretty high.
20. I thought he was making. Who signed the? I don't know who I was thinking of. But
that
yeah, 22 is still kind of hard to
been
move.
horrible too, unfortunately.
Lonzo's unmovable. You can't move him. He's not.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe the Hornets would take him.
we're looking right now like Zach LaVine. He's going to be a pretty hard guy to like trade away. Just
making almost like what, like 45
million a year. Like I feel like he'd maybe fit in well on a really good team, but to deal that kind of contract away is going to be challenging.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of that makes any sense for anybody would be Westbrook and the picks. Like that's all I can think of.
The Knicks should try and get Zach LaVine. Don't know what they have.
What do they have? Yeah, what do they have? What money do they have to send out? Like, are you gonna put Julius Randle in that? You're not doing that.
Yeah, no,
because Julius
Brunson
this
year.
Yeah,
and like you can't trade Barrett yet because that's poison pilled. I don't think you can mathematically get there. I don't know. I mean, the contracts I think of are just like bad contracts that are expiring. So Westbrook, Hayward in a year maybe if the Hornets are feeling aggressive, you could trade Hayward and something, but.
Move Evan Fournier making 18 mil and Mitchell Robinson making 17 mil.
Let's trade Fournier and Mozgov from 4 years ago. That's what we're doing.
And Derrick Rose making 14 mil. Maybe you can make a move there to get Zach LaVine. Yeah, no, that's not happening.
Honestly, Fournier and Rose to get the money there, that might make some sense. And then whatever picks you have to attach, but.
They should try to hit Mitchell.
They did. Though.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Knicks want to do that. They've got a good core going right now. They've got something good going there.
I don't know. Like, I feel like the last couple of years we've been kind of like hyping up the Chicago Bulls. Like, I thought they'd be not a top team in the East, but I thought they'd be like a 4 through like 7 or 8 seed type of team. A team that could really like make an impact, but they just haven't been there yet for some reason.
Yeah. They had like a 1-2 month stretch where they looked legit, and then since then it's been DeRozan kind of trying to carry them.
But DeRozan was getting like MVP looks sort of like last year.
I mean, DeRozan's having a good year now.
He's not. He's still very good, but he's still the best player in the team. But it's not enough.
By quite a bit. I think DeRozan is at this point significantly better than Zach LaVine. I was on the other side of that last year, but LaVine doesn't even try to play defense anymore.
Yeah, DeRozan's not great on defense, but he's like league average.
Yeah,
he'll put some effort in at least.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely on that side too. I was definitely a LaVine favorite over DeRozan mainly because I didn't like how DeRozan didn't really like shoot the 3 ball like particularly well compared to LaVine at least. But it seems like DeRozan's putting a lot more effort overall for the team. And we pulled up a stat earlier. DeRozan is shooting like 10% more like mid ranges
He
than
made-
any other player in the league. I thought it was just a pretty interesting stat.
It was like the stat was percentage of points that came from the mid range, and he had like 35%, and the next closest was like 26% of their
Yeah.
points. He's like the only player that shoots like a high level of mid ranges besides maybe like Kevin Durant.
We said like MVP looks
Yeah.
like DeRozan in like the mid like 2000s or whatever. Like that is an MVP type
Yeah, that's an
player.
MVP type
Oh
player.
yeah, DeRozan in the '90s, dude.
Modern
he'd be
Michael
crazy.
Jordan.
I'm serious.
The Knicks refused to give up RJ Barrett to get Donovan Mitchell. If they had D Mitch right now, they'd be in a really, really, really good spot.
He
Yeah,
wanted to
and
play.
they wouldn't.
He wanted to play there too.
They wouldn't have. That's why I don't think they're going to make a move for Levine, because if they wouldn't budge on Barrett or an extra pick for Mitchell, they're certainly not going to do it for Zach Levine.
Yeah, Mitchell's taken a bigger leap than I think anyone anticipated this year. Everyone knew he's been a good player for several years, but this season he's really taken a step forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When it comes to the Bulls, I feel like as a fan if you're a fan for the Bulls, it's disappointing that team was getting so much hype, and then their biggest accomplishment is going to be winning one game against the Bucks in the playoffs, and that was it.
Yeah.
It's just not good, not a good look. But
Bulls fans love to hype up mid for like the last decade.
it's unfortunate. Ever since the Rose injury, they've just been like a cursed franchise.
They
Yep.
always like they push their chips in at weird times. Like the D Wade, Rondo, Jimmy Butler team was so strange. And then
Yeah, I
like
won 2 games against Boston, the 1 seed, and then got swept.
and then Rondo got hurt.
Playoff
But then they had a
Rondo.
chance. Yeah, but then they push the chips in for DeRozan. And DeRozan's great, but for DeRozan and Lonzo, and it's like, yeah, what was the ceiling of that team at any point? Like a second round exit? I don't know.
Need to move on.
I don't know what they do. Like they don't have their pick this year. And well, if it's in the top 5, they do have it. So honestly, that's why I would just trade everybody and just tank the rest of the season, try and get that pick.
Yeah,
They also put a lot of their chips in for Vucevic, who's good, but not like an incredibly great player. And then they lost
wasn't
Wendell
worth it.
Carter.
He's not.
They lost 2
He's not that much
first-round
better
picks.
than Wendell Carter.
Yeah, for sure. They would have liked to have Franz Wagner though, and that's what their pick became.
Oh,
And
that's
they
brutal. That's
they
so
owe
brutal.
they have another one too that they owe to Orlando this year.
All right, yeah.
I think we kind of need to like move
on
here.
here
Yeah.
to
No.
The all-star starters. I mean, my resident 76ers fan here isn't gonna be too happy about the all-star
fucking
starter
scream,
decision,
bro. This shit is awful, man. But, all right, we'll go over the starters, and then we can give our opinions here. West starters, I don't have that much of a problem with. Point guard, obviously Steph. Shooting guard, Luka. Small forward, LeBron. Power forward, Zion. Center, Jokic. And then for the East, we have point guard, Kyrie. Shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell. Small forward, KD. Power forward, Jason Tatum. Center, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I'll obviously start here. This is the most embarrassing thing I think I've ever seen in my life, honestly. You have the number 2 in the MVP standings as of today, not even starting for the Eastern Conference. Someone who's putting up unseen scoring numbers from the center position since the 70s. We've talked about this before. And this dude isn't even a starter because the media wants to suck off the fucking leprechaun-ass Jason Tatum because he lets Deuce fucking Tatum walking on the floor all cute and shit, pause. And he gets so much fucking media attention, and it pisses me off. I get that the team's winning, get that he's having a good season. There's not a single aspect of basketball that Jason Tatum is better at than Joel Embiid. He's just all-over player.
There's definitely something he's better at, but he's not a better player. That's for sure. He's definitely not better than Embiid. But he is, he's faster. He's more athletic because he's smaller. But that's besides the point. Embiid obviously deserves to be a starter. It's a fan vote, though. They fucked that up. There's a lot of Celtics fans. There's a lot of Durant fans. And I think Giannis is the only guy who has an argument that definitely deserved it over Embiid. Not definitely, but, in the discussion. I would have had Embiid, Giannis, and Tatum or Durant. Tatum and Durant was the question for me, not Embiid, Tatum, or Durant.
Yeah.
So Embiid definitely
Tatum is my reserve, and then KD starting.
Either way, it's fine. I think Embiid not being on the starters is it's fan vote. So what can you really expect? Andrew Wiggins got to start last year, but Yeah,
That's
I
worse
mean,
than
if this was like media voted or all NBA teams, that'd be absurd. But he certainly deserved to start. I don't think it's that big of a deal in the long run. He'll be the first reserve.
The other one that's kind of confusing is Zion because
I
he
would
hasn't
have,
played very much.
If you're gonna go with games of guys who've played that much, I maybe I'm a little biased here. I think Anthony Davis, who's played about the same number of games as Zion,
Yeah.
has been better in the times he's played.
Mhm.
But I don't feel strongly either way. I'd give it to AD. But I get Zion
Sabonis
just for the
too.
excitement. It's a bonus. Yeah, he should get some looks. 'Cause if you're going to go off games played, he's played way more than both those guys. Although he just got hurt too, didn't he?
I think he's
Sabonis?
fine. I think he like hurt his thumb, but he's back. He's fine.
Oh, okay, okay,
He's played basically all the games that his team has played in.
all right.
And another question, it's not as bad as the Zion or obviously the Embiid one, but Kyrie, I feel like Jaylen Brown deserved that over Kyrie just because, I don't know. I feel like Kyrie's been really good, but he's missed some games, like we've said, and that's apparently only a factor when it comes to Joel Embiid, and no one else is affected by games missed. But yeah, I feel like Jaylen Brown's been really good this year. I think he's averaging like 27 a game on good efficiency and good defense. Kyrie's Kyrie, but I don't know. That was
I
definitely
think there's a lot of
because I
there's
saw he
there's
was
a
the
lot
number
of
one
questionable
point
questionable fans with questionable morals voting for Kyrie in the All-Star game is my guess.
I don't know. I feel like when
He's
it comes to
also
the
a fun
Eastern
watch,
Conference,
but yeah.
I feel like Donovan and Giannis were the two guys where it was like you're certain that they should be on the starting lineup because Donovan's been great and he's probably the best guard in the East right now.
Yeah.
And then Giannis is Giannis, best forward center in the league, best forward in the league probably. And then you had to decide between KD and Tatum and then Embiid, but I don't know. I feel like Donovan definitely deserved this, and I'm happy for him too.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think like obviously it's fan voting, but I think you do definitely slide Joel in, move Giannis to forward slot, and again, like we said, there's no real issues with Tatum versus KD. I mean, if you value like staying on the court or whatever, you're gonna pick Tatum. If you're like
Talent,
looking at like a raw talent, raw scorer, like arguably like. Some people would say maybe the greatest scorer of all time, but like one of them in KD. I mean, for me, it's just a toss up between the two of them. I value staying on the floor, so I'd probably maybe edge Tatum, but like we're looking at raw player, I'd probably say KD.
Yeah, I feel like as a fan, if you're looking at the common NBA fan, the fan voting for the All-Star Game's a popularity contest. So Tatum's been better than KD and been a better player this season, but it's like if you're the common NBA fan, it's like, oh wow, Kevin Durant's not a starter on the All-Star like Eastern Conference. It's like that shouldn't happen for most common NBA fans that really just.
By the way, though, this is kind of moot because KD's hurt right now, and Embiid's probably going to get to start anyway.
Yeah.
But who were the guards in the West? It was Steph and who again?
Steph and Luka.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I honestly, I would have if I could, because Luka was eligible as a forward too. I would have voted Luka as a forward, and then
That's what I was thinking.
taken Zion's spot and given it to SGA is what I would have done.
Yeah,
that
I
would make
I
more
like that a
sense.
lot.
Yeah,
Shea
or you
and
could,
Zion have been pretty comparable players on the court, but the game's play difference is very big in their case.
Yeah, I mean, Shea's played 44 games already this season. That's pretty crazy. 31 points per game.
Zion's played like 20-something games, I think.
Contributing, like, I have it here, 51% shooting for Shea, 36% from three, 91% at the line for like 11 free throws a game is pretty crazy. I don't know. I kind of struggle to put Shea like off of there. I definitely agree. I didn't know that Doncic could be a forward slot. I definitely put Shea in there.
Shea, you could always throw Dame in there as well, and then Ja too.
I'm almost surprised Ja didn't get like a lot of fan votes and sneak in there. But over Curry and Doncic, that's difficult.
Yeah, I think Steph definitely is locked in. But if Luka was a forward eligible, I feel like, put him at forward. I feel like Zion is very Zion obviously is a popular player. It seems like it's, I don't know, for ratings, get Zion in the starting lineup.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I in my opinion, I think the lists are pretty good. I would have had Embiid like we've talked about, but as Declan also said, like it's more than likely that he'll get the start anyway with KD being hurt, And no one really is going to remember the All-Star starters too hard when it comes down to it. People will just see,
Wonder
It's Andrew Wiggins.
he was an
Wonder if
All-Star
Zion
in
is going to be out
2023.
too.
Zion probably will be out.
Probably will be out, yeah.
That'll
Yeah.
probably go
Which
to
then could
AD.
put Shea in the starting lineup. I don't
Or
know.
AD.
Because
or
they need a
AD.
forward. They need a forward.
Yeah, they do need a forward. So
Way
kind of weird the way
it's
that it
probably
works,
AD.
but whatever.
Yeah, I don't. It's weird, but I don't. Whatever.
But yeah, I don't
I'm
think
not
anyone
sure.
will remember the semantics of it too much down the line. As long as all these guys make it, people care more about all NBA, at least for like first team, second team type thing than all-star starters, I think. And that's not
Which also needs an overhaul.
it needs an
All NBA
overhaul for
also
sure,
needs an
but the
overhaul.
fans also have no role in it, which is probably a good thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, because doesn't All NBA still have like the weird
Positions.
Two
positions?
You have
guards,
to have a
two
center. You
two
have to
forwards,
have a
and a
center, which is
yeah.
dumb.
Which, to be
Yeah.
fair,
Only two-
both leagues have a deserving center right now, but
Yeah, I think.
Or
I think.
yeah.
We've had
At
like
least
the
right
Jokic
now.
Embiid issue
Yeah.
for
Well,
all.
see, at least now for all NBA, there's 3 centers that deserve it, right? Because you could go first team Jokic, second team Embiid. Although I'd put Embiid on the first team with him, I'd find a way to do that. But
Exactly.
and then you
Yeah.
can go AD on the third team. But you know, but a lot of
feel like-
years you're stuck with like oh look, Jimmy Butler didn't make an All NBA team, but wait a minute, is that Karl Anthony Towns on the third
Yeah.
team? And you're like, what are we doing, guys?
DeAndre Jordan made,
DeAndre
he was like
Jordan.
first team,
Team,
All-NBA,
yeah.
It's a few years ago.
Bad.
Clint
Which should have never
Capella was
happened.
getting votes. You know.
Hey.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but yeah,
sorry.
when it comes to the All-Star game, the reserves are being announced in a few days, February 2nd. So next Thursday, they're announcing the reserves, which will also be interesting to see who else gets snubbed from the entire team in general. I don't really know who, maybe like De'Aaron Fox, but he's kind of already questionable enough. You hope Sabonis makes it.
Yeah.
Both the
Garland,
Kings guys
maybe.
should make it. They
Huh?
should both make it. Both of the Kings guys should make it.
for how
Absolutely.
effective their team has been this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we can move on here from the starters, go into our game recap. We have 3 games. I guess I can just talk about each of the scores and we can talk about the game. So first, I highlighted Knicks Celtics, which happened, I think, yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. 120,
Yesterday,
117 Knicks. They won in Boston in overtime. Julius Randle had 37, 9, and 2 on 13 of 25 shooting. Brunson had 29, 4, and 7 on 12 of 25. Tatum had 35, 14, and 4 on 12 of 26. This game was a huge win for the Knicks. And, as a Sixers fan, W beating the Celtics at home too, with a full healthy roster, besides Marcus Smart, who's been out for a little bit. But the Knicks have looked really good this season, which is kind of surprising with how they looked last year. It's like Julius Randle's like kind of a career like revitalization, I guess. He's looked a lot better than he did last year.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown missed 2 really big free throws at the end of that game. And we got a good image of Randall kind of cackling at him a little bit with the strange smile. But yeah, Jaylen Brown, he's not a great free throw shooter, weirdly enough, for someone who's so kind of, I know he's not like the most effective in the mid range, but he takes a lot of mid range shots. And he's not a great free throw shooter. He's like a mid-70s kind of free throw shooter this year. High 70s, like 77.
It is up to 78.5 this season, but
Okay.
I mean, yeah, still like you'd want him to be in the 80s for a guy.
83, 84, 85, that kind of thing for
His
someone
career
like that.
is at 72, so a little low, a little on the low end.
Mm-hmm.
He used to
But I
struggle
mean,
big time
he is
with
making
it.
improvement. He is making.
Oh yeah, he's
improvement.
getting better every year.
But
Yeah.
you need a guy like Jaylen Brown to make those clutch level free throws because you kind of, along with Tatum, you do really rely on those 2 guys to really
Score.
convert in clutch situations for Boston. I mean, especially considering they made it to the finals last year and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. You really do expect them to convert there.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say here, it is always good for the NBA to have the Knicks be good. It's a very good franchise, very fun franchise to watch when they're good, especially, as a Hawks fan. The playoff series, that was a really fun series with how lopsided it was at the end. It was still really fun to watch every game because of the amount of shit talking that fan base did with Trae Young. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I've got no beef with the Knicks or anything. I would like to see them be good as well. I mean, I had it up here for like one of my classes. Hold on, is like the Knicks are literally like probably top three like most popular franchises in the league somehow, despite them just continually to underperform every single year. So to see them pick up a quality win over Boston, and I like the Knicks more than Boston, so I'm happy that they won. It's just I don't know.
And they get
It's good to see Randall and then also Brunson put in some nice work there.
they get coverage like this when they're kind of okay, average. If the Knicks had a really good team, dude,
Yeah. The
it'd
media would be all over
honest,
them.
it'd get annoying pretty fast because we'd hear
Yeah.
nothing but the Knicks. It'd be like
Yeah.
the Lakers.
Yeah,
It'd be like the Lakers from a few years ago.
Lakers of the East.
So in one of my classes, no, this isn't like one of my classes I had the PowerPoint up. Granted, this is revenue like 4 or 5 years ago, but Knicks were number one by like over 40 million over the Warriors.
Oh yeah,
Lakers, it is good for the NBA for the Knicks to win.
Yeah,
It's a great
now,
franchise.
I think the Warriors probably passed them because Chase Center kind of prints money.
And the Lakers, because like this stat had LeBron still in the Cavs, and Cavs are number 5 on the list.
Yeah.
So like the Knicks are probably 3 or 4 now, but like it's still great for the NBA.
Yeah. The Lakers are making that much money, and they still won't go into the luxury tax any significant amount because Genie Bus is the worst. But yeah.
Yeah, here we can move on to this next game here. It's not as much of a close game, but we had an all-time performance here. Trailblazers 134, Jazz 124. Damian Lillard had 60 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists on 21 of 29 shooting. Laurie had 24, 4 and 1 on 7 of 16. I'm pretty sure I saw a stat. This was the most efficient like 60-point game ever with 21 of 29 shooting. And the Blazers have really underachieved, and Dame is like carrying them on his back like he always has been doing recently. But yeah, just an all-time performance by Dame. And Laurie also played pretty well too.
Dame is having one of his best seasons ever, honestly, this year. I mean, people are seeing it because he's Dame and he's a big player who averages a lot of points, but it's going under the radar a little bit again because the Blazers are even worse than they normally have been, just because they don't really have what it takes to win around Dame. Like, as good as he is, I'm not sure if he's quite the level of best player on a championship team level player. And besides him, they don't have the type of superstar, all-star guys that are really going to get it done. Like, that's the problem with a lot of teams in the league nowadays that want to contend but don't really see the full picture. Like they can't open their eyes and realize that they need to just have either go all in or fold. They just kind of stay in mediocrity. The Wizards of the West for a while there. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to just say, oh yeah, you should sell off, and the fans are going to be understandably upset, but maybe they should rethink their team building strategy a little bit, because clearly it isn't working over these last like 10 years.
Yeah, it's hard, as much as it feels like we're getting away from teams just like, oh, let's build a big three. As much as it feels like there's so much more talent in the league and you got to build these well-rounded rosters, it's still almost impossible to go all in unless you have two guys. You got to have at least two. You got to have one guy who's at the top of the league, and then you don't have, the next guy doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be LeBron and Anthony Davis where it's like 2 clearly top 10 guys. It can be like, I think Denver has the pieces to, like, I think Jamal Murray when healthy is enough. Like Chris Middleton as a second option is enough. But like Jeremy Grant, I guess, like that's not
Anthony Simons.
Yeah, like that's not it. You need
a bunch of like good starters, but
yeah,
Dame and a bunch of good starters like Nurkic, all of them. Yeah.
Josh Hart.
I was gonna mention earlier when we were talking about the trade options for like for a variety of teams. The Trailblazers could trade away Jeremy Grant at the deadline. Like this is the last year on his contract. If a team could find somewhere to like re-sign him, he'd be a solid option, averaging I think
it'd be like
per game, something like that.
It'd be like the 4th time that the Blazers have made a trade in the offseason, and then like halfway into the year they're like, this didn't work, and then they sell him for less than they bought him for. Because they did that with like, who did they do it with? They did it with Ariza a while back.
Yeah.
Probably like
They did
Eric
it with
Bledsoe or something.
they did it with They do it with a bunch of guys, a bunch of like smaller guys. Grant would be the biggest
They
one.
did it with Robert
That's
Covington. They did it with Norman
Covington,
Powell.
yeah,
Mhm.
Norm Powell, yeah, all these guys.
I mean, there's a bunch of
It's not good. Not good.
Yeah, Gary Trent. They traded for that was a terrible process. They traded Powell. They traded Trent for Powell to pay Powell more than Trent, even though Trent was way younger and better in every way. But
it just didn't make any sense in the moment or now. They had Melo a few years
Yeah.
ago. Remember that? That was kind of funny.
yeah, they should be selling, but we'll see what they do. I think the fans would understand at this point. I think Dame's been there 10 years. They're not going anywhere. I think the fans would probably they're gonna miss him, but I think they'd welcome a fresh
A rebuild.
start. Yeah.
By the way, I have it up here. I'm kind of pivoting a little bit for the Trailblazers, but Dame's performance is 11th all time for NBA game score, behind only Donovan Mitchell for his like incredible performance at the beginning of the year, and Joel Embiid this year are the only other two players that have higher than him this season. But to have 60 points on like less than 30 shots and only 10 free throws, like
Absurd.
that is incredible. And he's still like 8 assists too, or something like that.
Yeah, Dame's been able to make like crazy. He's had some crazy games where he's had like low amounts of shots and an insane amount of points. But yeah, I guess we can move on to our last game that I highlighted here. 76ers Nets happened a few days ago. Ben Simmons return, 137 76ers, 133 Nets. This is a really entertaining game to watch. I tuned in. Embiid had 26, 10, and 3 on 6 of 18. Maxey had 27, 3, and 5 on 8 of 14. Kyrie had 32 and 10 on 14 of 27. And Nick Claxton had 25 and 11 on 11 of 13.
Nick Claxton's legit, man. He's a good player.
Yeah, I was looking at his stats. He's had a bunch of good games in a row here now.
I mean, we talked about it last time on the pod. Nick Claxton is like in contention for
Defensive player.
probably like top 4 for defensive player of the year. I feel like
he's probably up there for most improved.
I was about to say he's definitely in contention for most improved. Like he's taken a gigantic step forward on both sides of the ball.
Do you guys know his 2K rating right now?
No.
Like 74.
It's
Guess.
probably
Stans, guess his 2K rating.
yeah, no, like 76.
I would have said like 80, like mid 80s, honestly.
He's an 85. He's an 85 now.
Okay. They've given him respect. They've given him respect.
Yeah, they've boosted him.
But like this month, he's averaging 17 and 10.
17 and 10 this month.
He's leading the league
fantastic.
in blocks per game. His blocks have gone up by like almost 3 times from last
almost
year.
3 blocks a game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's shooting 75% from 2, which leads the league. He's also leading the league in field goal percentage as well.
Did he get a new deal this offseason, or is he a free agent coming up? I thought he got a new deal, right?
He got he has one more year left. Yeah, they gave him like a 2-year deal for like $17 million. So he has one more year at like $8 million, which is a bargain again, and then he'll be able to hit free agency.
Then he'll hit the market and get 20 plus.
I mean, he'll be like 24, 25 when he hits the market, and he's putting up like defensive player of the year type numbers. So
yeah.
The only problem with Claxton though is that he's shooting about 48% from the free throw line, shooting like 3.5 free throws a game. Like he's kind of got to bump that up a little bit more. But I mean, when you take it in consideration with everything else, it's obviously still fine.
Yeah.
If he had any sort of jump shot whatsoever, it's probably too late for him to really develop one at this point. That's good. But if he had any sort of jump shot or free throw, he could be like an all-star player soon.
Yeah. As we already talked about the Sixers, but I did just want to say again, Maxey coming off the bench has just been switching Maxey and Melton into the starting lineup and onto the bench has been a really big positive for this Sixers team because they have been completely different than how they looked at the beginning of the year now. And they've kind of got something going with this 6-game win streak. And obviously beating the Nets and Ben Simmons at home in his return.
The return.
Yeah. It was a huge win and a very exciting game.
It was a seven-game home win streak for Philly, right? They had 7 home games in a row. They climbed to the 2 seed. They're right up there with the other contenders in the East. It's them, Boston, Milwaukee, and I guess Brooklyn and Cleveland are the other 2. They're kind of looking in there. But
yeah, I would say that
they're now
those 5
2.5 games back from first in the East.
Yeah, Boston did have like a 4 or 5 game lead like last time we did the podcast. So
They've lost 3 straight now. Magic Heat.
They're about to lose to the Lakers on Saturday. So
got a tough stretch coming up. Lakers, Nets, Suns, Sixers, Grizzlies, Bucks.
That's brutal. That's really brutal. Wow.
Few weeks, yeah.
no, they've got a couple easy games in between, but it's still a really tough stretch.
No, yeah, they play the Pistons and the Hornets within that grouping, but it's still that's within like the next 3 weeks. That's who they play.
Yep,
just really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's it for the game recaps. We have some game picks now. The Bird Rights Boys games of the week picks. I picked the Sixers Nuggets, which is tomorrow at 3 p.m. I think this is another huge game. We don't get to see Joel versus Jokic very much because either one of them's usually Joel's been hurt or they just don't seem to be able to play against one another. But they did last year, which is a really entertaining game, and I think this one's going to be an entertaining game too.
This is only like the second time they're gonna get to face off, or maybe it's still very low if it's not that low. Pretty impressive for like the two best in the
These
league.
are two really high-powered teams that are on win streaks or have been really good these past few months. So it's a clash of probably the hottest team in the East and then the number 1 seed, the best team in the West. So this is going to be a really good game, and hopefully both rosters are fully healthy. So hopefully Michael Porter Jr. comes back from his personal absence.
Yeah.
Issue.
We don't have to go into that. It's for some pretty sad circumstances. Again though, this is the big debate in our chat, really, like in our personal chat that we talk about all the time. Jokic versus
for like 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for a long time. Pretty much the 2 best players in the league over the past like few seasons are coming up.
We didn't see that coming when we started having these debates when they were like, they were young players and they were like borderline all-stars, and we're like, I think Embiid has a brighter future than Jokic, and then like 4 years later they're the 2 best players in the league. It's wild.
Yeah, there wasn't really like a wrong answer from like either side of this, really.
Yeah.
It
They
really
both
has
fully
evolved.
realized all of the potential that we could have possibly seen.
Yeah,
and more.
And probably and more. Like I don't think anyone saw like Jokic possibly winning 3 MVPs in a row and averaging a triple double, and being leading the league, having the best scoring center season in a very long time. So
all right.
Yeah.
I can do my game if no, I didn't pick one, but I do have 2 games in mind that I can do for my picks of the week. Hopefully nobody else picked this. I don't think you did. It is the Lakers games in these coming days because of what it means for I think how they perform in these 2 games will have implications for how they act at the deadline. They play in Boston, and then I believe they play in Brooklyn.
Yep.
If they can compete, they don't have to win both, but if they can win one, or if they beat the Celtics especially, or if they are super close and it's a tight game, I know that front office is super reactionary. So if they think they're close after those games, I think you could see a serious deadline move. If not, if they get blown out by Boston and lose to Brooklyn, I think they'll probably sit on their hands and just let the season play out. But I think that's and also it's Lakers Celtics, so it's always a fun game.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting though. They've got back-to-backs Monday, Tuesday for the Nets and the Knicks. They're playing both the New York teams back-to-back. So we'll see what happens with that game as well. All 3 should be pretty fun games to watch, I'd say. And
Durant's not going to be ready for Monday, and it's still been since 2018 that LeBron and KD have played against each other. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that'd be nice for the NBA at least to see those 2 come against each other because we talked about Jokic versus Embiid for the last couple of years, but like the last
Ron KD's been going on for
the last decade,
15 years at this point.
For the last 15 years, that's really been like the main thing to watch. Also a very positional battle too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My game of the week is Grizzlies Cavs coming up on Thursday. Those are 2 teams that are very good, and in my opinion, you can make an argument for like maybe them both being in top like 5 teams in the league when they're all healthy and clicking. Both are kind of they're not underrated, but maybe the young pieces are starting to really come together nowadays, and I think it'll be good to see them both Square off on TNT. That night.
Should be a lot of fun.
Mobley had a great game recently. 38, 9-3 on 19 of 27 a few games ago. He's been really good
against
recently.
the Bucks.
Against the Bucks, yeah, too. Obviously without Giannis, but still, he's been very, very, very good. But yeah, that's going to be an exciting game.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. Should be pretty electric. And we finally ended it full circle with the Denver Nuggets. They're playing the Pelicans on Tuesday at 10 p.m. I have it like on paper. It sounds really exciting. There are a few misses. I think Zion might be out for that one. I think
Ingram just came back though. Ingram just came back.
Yeah, Ingram's back. We'll see if MPJ comes back. I'm more interested for like the score for like the storyline here because like the Pelicans have dropped their last 6 games and they're gonna be on the road in Denver. It's gonna be interesting if they can come back. Yeah, it's good. It's gonna be a tough one for them. KCP has been a really good player for Denver, so I mean we'll see if the Nuggets can hold them off. I think they will, but I mean you got 2 top teams in the West currently, so it should be a good one. Tuesday at 10.
Pelicans kind of having the opposite season they had last year. Last year they started so bad and then picked it up. This year they started so hot and then kind of the injuries are kind of crumbling them right now. I think they'll be okay if they can get everyone back. Yeah,
best players at any given
I would have
time.
loved to see Zion Williamson, carrying the ball up the floor, calling an ISO on Nikola Jokic, and just busting past him and dunking. I would have loved to see that, but we're gonna have to wait until probably the playoffs.
Ingram and Zion have been on that team together for like 3.5 years, and I swear they've played like 15 games together. I mean, I'm sure it's more than that, but it feels like nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very exciting. Very, very good weekend and next week of games. I don't know exactly when the All-Star game is next month. But yeah, that about wraps it up for us today. That's about all we got to talk about. I don't think we have a Nick Miller question of the day.
Hold on.
Yeah. Did he give you one?
I'll come up with one. All right, here's my Nick Miller question of the day based on what we were just talking about for all of you. What was the last game? You don't have to say. You can get roughly the date that LeBron and KD started and finished against each other.
Started and finished.
Yep.
I mean, do you know the answer off the top of your head here?
Yeah, I know it. I know it off the top of my head.
Sheesh.
Well, you said
real strong ball
like
knower.
2018, so I'm gonna say.
I think I know it's true, but I might be wrong.
I'm gonna say like March 2018 or something.
Oh, we have to guess the day.
I don't know.
You can. You don't have to guess the day, but you can. That's Kobe's answer suffices as an answer.
All right. I picked the Christmas Day game from. I don't know if it's 2018 or 2017. I don't know. The really good one.
That also says December 25th, 2018.
So it was I said started and finished. LeBron tore his groin in the middle of that game.
Oh my God.
The last game before that was Game 4 of the 2018 Finals while he was on Cleveland.
Damn!
Wow,
it's been that long. That's crazy.
Yeah. Because
the league we're getting robbed as fans.
The Warriors completely just unfortunately had too many injuries that series.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's no points on the Nick Miller question there.
I guess I got closer. The price is right. I didn't go over.
All right. I think we're signing off for this podcast. I mean, it's great for you to make it, Declan, midway through the pod on the campus.
Let's go. Let's go.
Thanks, guys, for watching the Bird Rights podcast. I guess we'll catch you. I don't know what's going to be next. Maybe football recap, maybe baseball.
Football will be up yesterday when this comes up. This will probably be up on Saturday.
Yeah.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
See y'all.